Hey guys, welcome back. Let me paint a picture for you. You have a full schedule, couple of drop-offs, couple of walk-ins on a day in the clinic, maybe some emergencies, you never know what can happen. You handle it masterfully. Clients are happy, you've really helped some animals that day, your team is doing well. Just as you start to pat yourself on the back, you see a stack of records on your desk left to right, and you know, just after all that work, the day is not over yet. We've all been there. It can be really tough, kind of disheartening at the end of the day. Well, what if there was a way that you could still see all those patients and not end the day with a stack of records? Don't worry, we're not going to talk here about moving faster through rooms or leveraging staff or all those things that, let's be honest, sometimes they sound good in theory, but they don't always materialize in an unpredictable work environment. What we are going to talk about is Scribenote. Okay, stay with me. It sounded too good to be true when I first heard about it, and rest assured I have seen it with my own eyes. Fully automated documentation of your appointment based on an audio recording you take of that appointment. That's right, you hit record on your phone, and 2 minutes after the appointment, you have a fully transcribed soap note that cuts out all the chit-chat you may have had during the appointment. Like I said, it didn't seem possible, but let me assure you, it is. Here with me are two of the founding members of Scribenote who have such a great story about creating this company. Described as a human golden retriever, Ryan likes to help people with technology. Ryan's an engineer by training, a founder by nature, and a lover of working hard for an important mission. Ryan started Scribenote to help his sister Katie get home on time from the clinic. He's proud that he's finally achieved his goal and won't stop until all veterinarians who struggle with time-consuming medical records can make it home on time for dinner. Oh, I just love that sentiment. Since graduating from the Ontario Veterinary College in 2016, Dr. Katie Gallagher has been practicing small animal medicine. Katie is a key member of the Scribenote team while still working as a general practice veterinarian full-time and making it home for dinner on time. Katie hopes that with Scribenote, all of her peers and fellow veterinarians will find a better work-life balance. Guys, you gotta check this episode out. Here we go. Well, I'm joined for this episode, this is really exciting, by Katie and Ryan Gallagher from Scribenote. And I learned about Scribenote on social media and I decided to try it out. And I've honestly just been so excited about it that I had to reach out to you guys and invite you on the podcast because I think more people need to know about this. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. We are so excited to be here.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to be able to have this opportunity to spread the word.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in with, I'm sure what everyone's burning question is, and that's what is Scribenote? Can you guys tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so Scribenote is the easiest way to get your medical records done as a veterinarian. So rather than typing your notes in between appointments or at the end of a very long, busy day, or dictating your notes slowly into a microphone, you can think of Scribenote as an AI scribe in your pocket. So what that means is you go into the exam room, you ask for consent to record, you click a button on your phone, and then you just carry on the consultation as usual. When you're done, you click stop, and 2 minutes later, you get back a fully formatted medical record with all the key clinical information and none of the chit chat about summer barbecue plans or, or anything else that might come up.
It's been pretty amazing for me in practice. I'm still a full-time vet, but I also consult for the Scribenote team just to help figure out exactly what we need to make the day-to-day flow easier. And it's been, honestly, my whole team is using it. It's been super helpful for us.
That's fantastic. And let's go into that a little bit more because Scribenote has this kind of incredible story of being this family business designed to get veterinarians home on time. And of course, Katie, that started with you. Tell us that story. Tell us about where Scribenote started and the journey to get to where you are now.
So it was 2019 in the winter, and Ryan followed me around, was a fly on the wall for my appointments for a full day. So I would kind of go in and ask if he could kind of shadow for a project for school. And at the end of the day, he said to me, "Your job is super inefficient. You do everything twice." And I was like, well, that's just how it goes. Like, I talk to people for half an hour and then at the end of the day, I have to record it. Like, it's part of our job. And he said, "I'm going to fix that for you." And I couldn't physically wrap my mind around what that meant. Like all of the technology part of it still blows my mind. Yeah, they've done it now, which has actually been a bit of a long process. Ryan can talk to you about that part.
So Scribenote, I guess the first line of code was written shortly after I was a fly on the wall for Katie back in December 2019. Really, it has been sort of a long story. Way back at that moment, we knew that there was this incredible opportunity to reduce the massive burden of documentation. Take the 2 hours a day of writing records completely off the plate of the veterinarian. What we didn't know is how hard it was going to be and how long it was going to take. But I kind of had a feeling that if I just stuck to this problem for the long term, then eventually we'd get there. So yeah, I started working on Scribenote with Katie as a side project, and then I brought it with me to my fourth year engineering student design project at the University of Waterloo, where you have this opportunity to create something for the real world as a student and see how it goes. So as part of that project, it kind of turned from this side project that I was working on casually to this like wake up in the morning, think about Scribenote, get to work on Scribenote and spend the whole day doing it. And that grew into this really amazing partnership between myself and one of Scribenote's other co-founders, Alina Pavel. And as we graduated, we started to like make a ton of progress. And so the school gave us some grant money to turn Scribenote into a business full time. And that's when we took the leap of faith. So this was May 2021. We kind of started and we thought, man, this is like this is still like a really complex problem of like, how do we take all this information that's in the appointment and turn it into a proper medical record? You know, we didn't want to turn into a research company that took like 7 years to get a product out and never actually serve customers. So we kind of like did some brainstorming and tried to figure out what is the simplest thing that two engineers in their parents' basement can release to the public and start adding some value to veterinarians' lives. So we worked on that for a couple months, and then in October 2021, we released Scribenote Basic, which was our first product. And the whole idea behind Scribenote Basic was it was just a very simple, easy to use EMR. And that was our least automated product. And over the past 2 years, we've been kind of taking incremental steps towards automation, with that long-term goal being walk into the exam room, click a button, and just carry on as usual. So we did a couple steps to get there, and it was December of 2022 that we actually, for the first time, created a fully automatic medical record. And then we shortly after that started working with Katie and a few of her peers in a beta program. And we did that until May when we launched Scribenote to the public. Scribenote, our unlimited plan, which lets you do exactly what that long-term vision is, which click a button, carry on the appointment as usual, and then click stop, get a medical record back. But I did want to just take a quick pause there because yes, Scribenote did start as a family origin story. It did start with this mission to see if I could get Katie home on time. But it was by no means just Katie and I that have been able to pull this off together. We have some really incredible teammates. Alina Pavel, one of my business partners, she's been with Scribenote full time since May of 2021. And anything that looks good on Scribenote or anything that feels good is the direct result of Alina's incredible work. We also have Emily Mary on our team. She's a third-year veterinary student at the University of Guelph, and she has been an incredible source of inspiration and energy as we move Scribenote through its various stages of development. And we just recently hired our first engineer too, and that's George Fauzi, and he's been incredible. So you will have seen some features released recently that were directly George's work.
That's amazing. And we always talk about like Apple was started in a garage. And I mean, like you said, like two engineers in your parents' basement trying to come up with this. And you've really come up with this incredible product. And also listening to you talk about your team, it sounds like you guys are a really small, really agile team with a lot of good communication with each other. And I think that's a recipe for designing a really usable product, which I have to say Scribenote is like, it almost comes across as like unbelievable. I'm like, wait, no, you're kidding me. I can just walk into a room and hit record and I don't have to write a record at the end. Katie, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of that workflow for you and how that goes actually in the clinic?
Yeah, and honestly, it is pretty mind-blowing. Like we were just at the AVMA conference in Denver, and we spoke to a lot of vets, and basically everybody kind of reflected that same statement, but it isn't too good to be true. Basically, it's real. I honestly couldn't even believe it the first day I used it. I believe I I left work at 5 minutes after close. Now, obviously, not every day is like that because of our job, but the record part of it is covered. So what I do, like no matter how many appointments I have, I typically bring my phone in. I have the app on my phone. I walk in, I say hi to the owner and to the pet, and then I say, before we start, are you okay if I record for medical documentation purposes? And I typically get no pushback at all. If people have a follow-up question, they're like, oh, like, what does that mean? Or like, why are you doing that? I tell them, I actually say my brother created this app to help me get home from work on time and finish my medical records a bit faster at the end of the day. And or we talk a bit about like the fact that it kind of summarizes everything, but nothing that's not related to the pet's appointment. And so people haven't really had any issue with that. And so then I just continue. I typically do a lot of talking in my exams. That's always how I've been. So it really does a good job at capturing like your subjective. So the history, when you don't really remember sometimes like what they fed the pet or how many times it vomited or, you know what I mean? Like random stuff like that if you don't jot it down. And then the objective, like I go through the body systems, I tell the owner what I'm seeing, then the assessment, it'll pick up all the problems. And then I typically go over all my recommendations and prescriptions and whatever. So that all ends up in the plan. And then you just hit stop. And typically, like if my next appointment's not already there, I can just go in and quickly like review it and download it into my record system, which is right now Cornerstone. So we've also tried to make like a fairly easy workaround for all of the there's so many different medical record softwares that we didn't really want to be exclusive and just pick one. So we have like a few easy copy features. There's an easy download to PDF. And then eventually, like if hopefully integration with all the different systems will be a possibility, but right now it's easy enough to get them in. Yeah, and then I just move on. And if I don't have time to do my records at the end of a busy day, at least I have them all stacked up and they're all time stamped. And it also even creates a title with the pet's name if you talk about the pet by the name in the appointment. And so it's really easy to find them and then get them into the medical record. So my whole team is using it now. And I even work with a few vets that are closer to retirement age who have told me that they will stay in the profession longer because they don't have to do as much paperwork now and they can go back to doing what they really love, which is practicing medicine.
Wow, that's really powerful to hear that from, some of these older veterinarians. If I hadn't seen it for myself, I don't know that I would believe you, but
I know.
truthfully, I don't know that I've done the appointments yet, but I've done the summaries. And one of the things that I thought was incredible was Scribenote's ability to pick up on jargon. So I tried it in my house call practice to work through Siri and try to write my stuff in notes so I could copy and paste later. Siri had no idea what I was saying. Like I had no idea what that note said at the end. And then I was introduced to Scribenote and I started doing summaries through that. And yeah, it was very accurate on even some really complicated words. So I can imagine recording in that appointment, you probably get a pretty accurate reflection of what happened. And then it's cutting out this extra conversation, which is unbelievable because I'm the same way. I like to talk a lot in appointments and how was your son's baseball game and all this kind of stuff. It just, like I said, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I don't know that I would believe you.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. It's still because like I am the complete opposite of Ryan. I'm the least techie person. He teaches me how to do things on my phone still. Like I don't know how we got very different brains, but like I also agree that like it blows my mind when I use it. We also have a super useful new callback feature, which I've been using quite a lot. And I just want to highlight that like it is so good. If you're calling about blood work results or like to chat about a hospitalized patient, I just record my own side of the conversation and hit, like, you change the little drop down to callback, and I go over whatever I need to go over with the owner, and then I hit stop and I get like a perfect summary of what I talked about, and then I just pop it into my medical record instead of, it's so challenging to type while you're talking on the phone, and to focus on what they're saying if you're typing. So usually, like, documentation of callbacks also takes time. And I really, really enjoy that new feature. Like, it's when I was really pushing Ryan to do, because I do a lot of phone talking too. And then whatever, even if you're reporting like x-rays or blood work results to a client in clinic, you can use it as a quick summary too. You can just put it in the room and record it that way. So yeah, a ton of like super easy functionality, because we wanted to make it user friendly, because I am one of those users that if it's not easy to use, I won't use it. So it's been super, super straightforward.
I absolutely agree. Really user friendly. And I think you bring up a really important point when it comes to the importance of having accurate medical records. I mean, how many how many of us have been there at the end of a busy day? You haven't even had time to take a sip of water, let alone write a medical record. And then you sit down, your brain is melting out of your ears, and you're like, was it the right leg or the left leg? I don't know. Or like you're trying to write that call back down. You're like, wait, what did they say about that? So to be able to record this in real time, can you speak to that a little bit? Just the importance of having all of that information the first time, so you're not trying to pull it out of your brain and potentially get it wrong.
Yeah, it increases accuracy. I would say, like, I can't even put a percentage on it, because before I would always take like jot notes. So if I would miss something, so it was like a really busy dog, you don't have time to jot things down in between. I It's so much better, because sometimes you just end up being like, well, I think it was this, or like, yeah, I guess that was the heart rate. I mean, really, like, it is a reality when you're so busy to not have 100% accurate records, but they do the job. They just take a long time to write down and remember. Like you said, your brain is melting. Yeah, I always say my brain is mush by the end of the
Yeah.
day. And so yeah, like, it's been super helpful. It's been really, really good. Like, even sometimes if I have a few minutes in between appointments, which is not super common, like, I can get my records done chunk, like, even just a little bit before lunch, and then I'll have my afternoon ones, and then it's just so much faster, like hours and hours saved of time, I would say.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Such a cool product, which is why we're here today, because it's so exciting. So let's talk about some of the different applications for Scribenote. You're talking about your workflow in clinic, but I understand that this started maybe as like a mobile envisioning for mobile veterinarians, which is great for me. And then also some stories from locum vets as well.
Yeah, so Scribenote, when we first launched Scribenote Basic, we kind of intended it to be this very easy to use electronic medical record system for mobile vets, or niche practitioners like vet rehabbers, because what we saw was that there's all these record softwares out there that are really complicated and very expensive, and there was like this really great opportunity to create something very visually appealing, very easy to use, and very affordable. And so that's kind of where we started in that niche, and then it was almost a bit of a funny story as to how we worked our way into doing more work for mobile vets. So Katie transitioned to doing mobile practice for a good couple months, and this was shortly after we launched Scribenote Basic. And all of a sudden, Katie's on the road for 2 hours a day, and yet she'd get home to a stack of medical records. And so we had this idea while on the road one time, actually, that wouldn't it be great if Katie could just like call a friend or like talk to someone who knew what they were doing while she was on the road? And by the time she got to her next appointment, she could have a record done for her. And so that kind of led to the idea that we could use Scribenote's built-in mobile app recording software and allow Katie to, while she's on the road, sort of do a summary style dictation of what happened in her last appointment. So we we had that idea, and then by the next weekend, we had Katie using it. This is a common theme at Scribenote. I'm not sure if we'll talk about it in other instances, but we moved very, very quickly in response to customer feedback. So yeah, like we had that idea, and then the next week, Katie was using it, and now instead of coming home to a stack of paperwork, she was coming home to a stack of records that my business partner Alina and I had manually taken and transcribed, and then formally put into the SOAP category for her. So we got to act as scribes. We were scribes for a good couple months, and we started with Katie, and then we expanded that service to a number of other veterinarians. And then in the preceding months, by being the scribes and by being able to work with that technology, we figured out how to automate this step. And so that automation, as I think you talked to this product already, is Scribenote summaries. So instead of having a human on the other end of a dictated summary, I just saw Fluffy, this is what I saw, this is what we're going to do. The software, we made it so that it could do that for you automatically. So if you're you're on the road, you click a button, talk out a summary, click stop, and it's like you would just talk to a technical friend, maybe a technician or a receptionist or another veterinarian, and the software knows what you were saying. To your point, it understands the jargon, and then it goes ahead and it sorts it into a medical record for you so that this isn't something you have to think about. So that is a workflow that mobile veterinarians really loved. I think that might have been the one that you discovered Scribenote on. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. That is where I discovered Scribenote. And I have to echo what you said about, Katie, you being on the road for 2 hours, then coming home to a stack of records. I was dealing with the same thing, and I was trying to figure out kind of exactly what you described. Like, is there somebody I can talk to who can take this and put it where I need it? But first of all, I needed somebody who could understand the jargon. Like you said, you can't just send that to anybody. And how to categorize that. And I needed a software that could understand the jargon. I didn't have anywhere, I guess I could do like an audio recording, but then somebody's got to go back and write it down. So I was trying to figure this out. I didn't have a good system. I was also getting home to a stack of records. I discovered Scribenote summaries, same story. Record while I'm driving. I get home. In my instance, I have a space in my software where it's medical notes that are basically only visible to the practitioner. And so copy and paste out of that summary and put it right in my software system, and away we go.
Amazing. Thank you. We're really happy to hear that it's working well for you. I do want to touch on the fact that so these features of Scribenote, these kind of like steps along our long and winding road to get to automation, these are all given away for free now by Scribenote. So we used to charge for Scribenote Basic. We used to charge for Scribenote Pro is the plan that we put summaries on. Actually, this month, July, we're upgrading all our old customers to be able to use the most advanced versions of Scribenote, and we're giving away the last generations of Scribenote that were kind of steps along this journey to automation. Because the thing that we think is like absolutely most impactful about Scribenote is the milestone we got to when we launched Scribenote appointments in May. It's the realization of a long journey, and the realization of our grand vision of like, when I started working on Scribenote, I had this kind of like founding statement in my mind, which was that Katie has wanted to be a veterinarian since she was 5 years old. I knew that Katie at 5 years old was not dreaming of growing up and having to do all kinds of administrative work, keeping her from getting home to her family at the end of the day, right? She wanted to be interacting with patients and wanted to be helping the clients and really serving the community as a veterinarian. And so this founding goal of Katie wants to be a veterinarian, let her be a veterinarian, kind of, you see echoes of that in everything we do at Scribenote. So it's through the appointments product, it's through the summaries optionality, it's Katie already talked about callbacks. Really everything we're trying to do at Scribenote is to take some time from the administrative part of your day and move it elsewhere so that you can have better work-life balance, you can have better efficiency, you can do the parts of veterinary medicine that you actually grew up dreaming of doing, and not the boring administrative draining aspects of the job.
That's a really powerful message, because I think that's where some of that burnout and some of that draining aspect of being a veterinarian comes from, of, wow, I had such a great day. I talked to so many incredible people and we had some wonderful appointments and I really helped some animals. Now it's been 10 hours that I've been here doing that, and I have 2 more hours of medical records to write. So do I sit here and do a really thorough job, Or, do I do maybe a job I'm not as satisfied with, but try to get home a little sooner? Like, no, that's terrible. Of course you're going to get burnout and people are going to be drained from doing that over and over again. So, to be able to, like you said, get veterinarians back to practicing medicine, get us back to what we love doing. I think that's going to do so much for like work-life balance, like you mentioned, and just overall job satisfaction. Katie, like you said, older vets staying in the field, it's just, like I said, just a really powerful message. And the other thing that keeps coming through is you talked about being a scribe for a while and getting these medical records and offering this service to people. I'm sure that you guys offered that and it's been offered before, but of course there's going to be limitations there. If
Yeah.
your information's coming to a human who has to physically transcribe all of that, by you taking and automating it, I mean, now every veterinarian can have this service, and it's not limited to the number of people who are available to scribe in these kinds of things.
Exactly. I think that was like a huge part of my like initial worry was like, how are we gonna help as many people as we can if we have like a human in the loop? Like humans cannot physically do things nearly as quickly. Listening to a 30-minute or 20-minute or 15-minute appointment still takes that long at least, or even longer maybe, to listen and to type it out properly. So then you don't have things as quickly either. So they went through all of that. Like they ended up doing scribing for me and for a bunch of other vets, and like it is burdensome. Like it's a lot of work, and then they obviously can appreciate how much work it takes to write down all of that for us, right? And just to echo what you said about like work-life balance, like we were just in Denver at the AVMA, like I mentioned, and it was really eye-opening to talk to so many vets with the same problem. Like sometimes I always like would think to myself, like, is it just me? Like, am I the only one who like takes so much time with my medical records because I think they're really important? But like so many people I talked to were said thank you, and that they couldn't believe like how much this would change their lives. And it was just really profound. Like it was really something else to talk to everybody who's so excited about the product, and we're really hoping that the work-life balance and the mental health aspect of the product is really what rings true. Like people see it for what it could do for their home life. Like, yeah, it's pretty big.
Yes, work-life balance and job satisfaction. I mean, two of the biggest challenges in veterinary medicine. Such an incredible solution here.
Yeah.
Well, I think, we've definitely driven home how exciting this product is. Let's talk about some of the technical aspects of it. For example, privacy implications. Katie, you said you go into a room and you just say, do I have your permission to record? Is that enough? Do we need to have clients sign something? What are some of the privacy implications of recording these appointments?
Yeah, to your point, you can certainly do more if you choose to. So some clinics that we've talked to are considering adding like an additional waiver, like that you sign. Some clinics that we talked to have considered putting signs up that we are recording. The fundamental piece that's very important is that you have the proper authorization and consent to record in the exam room. That's absolutely critical. And this isn't a new thing either. This is something that people have gotten quite used to in 2023. You get on a call with the bank and this call will be recorded for quality assurance. You see it like as you walk into many facilities, there's cameras and things, and there might be a notice of recording. So what's really important on this front is that people understand that they are being recorded. They have the right to say no. Now, we have done many thousands of Scribenote appointments at this point, and I've only heard of one instance where somebody said no. And if that does happen, I think there are a couple workflows that we touched on already with Scribenote that come in that come in to help. So one of them would be Scribenote summaries, and this could kind of come in handy if maybe a client that doesn't want to be recorded chooses not to. Well, you can still use Scribenote summary to get that note done quickly. And that also kind of comes in when there are situations that might not be appropriate to record as part of the day, right? So in my mind, euthanasia is probably not be a great time to record. Surgeries probably would also not be a great time to record. And so these are kind of some features of Scribenote, particularly the summaries piece. You still have an opportunity to get your work done really quickly, even if the client isn't willing to consent to the recording. But that's kind of on our end. The consent is very important. Your clinic already has, most of the time it should have a privacy policy that governs that you take in certain private information as part of operating your practice, and this is how you treat it, and you might have third-party vendors. And so that's something that your clients would have already been aware of as they became a customer at your practice, right? And so Scribenote is kind of no different than that from like a electronic data perspective. Just like when you store data in your electronic medical record, there's some private information in that that is going to cloud systems. So from that aspect, things are very similar. Now, from the recording aspect, that consent is very important.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering, are you recording like on your personal device there? And also like how does that play in, if you can speak to that a little bit too?
Yeah, so we have the app and we also have the browser, right? Like you can pull it up on the internet and you can record. If you have a computer in the room, you can pull up the web page and you can record right on there. So either way, or we also have a few doctors at my practice that will bring an iPad in. So it's whatever works. I just use my phone because it's convenient and I remember to bring it in with me. And yeah, it's honestly like it doesn't really take very much. Like I just open the app in my phone. It's super easy to work it into the conversation. Like I usually just say hi to the pet and the owner first. And then I say like, before we start, can we record? And people have no issue. So I just press record and then I leave it on the counter and I don't even think about it until I'm done. And that's pretty much it. Like it's pretty seamless. Like it doesn't take a lot to remember to do it because it's so helpful.
Are there any additional privacy considerations with recording on, say, like your phone? Because obviously you can take your phone home with you and you have somebody recorded on your phone. Have you ever run into people who are not comfortable with that? Or, do you know if there's any considerations that we need to be aware of with that?
So I think because there's no actual client information, so like when I'm recording, like I don't have the client's name, I don't say their last name. All we talk about is the pet's name. And so in my medical record, like it'll be identifiable by the pet's name and the time, but I don't add any of that personal information so that it really doesn't, in my mind, like it's unidentifiable. Like if someone probably wouldn't even recognize their own voice, like I've never actually gone back and listened to a recording because I don't have time for that anyway. But, I just really don't think that you could tie it to one person or another. So I guess that's pretty much how I feel about the app. I've never had anyone question that it's on my own personal device.
Another aspect of that is important to remember that many people bring home work related materials on their smartphone anyway, right? So I know there's a lot of companies that have corporate emails that you might be able to log into on your smartphone. There's a lot of personal private data there, right? So like any email logs that you've had with clients, any sort of information like that. So as far as like work material on a private device, I think that's something that people are pretty familiar with in 2023. I mean, maybe there are corporations that have a policy against it. I'm not sure, but if that is the case, then yeah, you can use your work computer. You can use a tablet that's bought by the clinic. The clinic could buy you a phone as well if there's an issue where they don't want you bringing home private information.
I think that's something to think about there is that, like you said, I didn't even think about it from, being able to log into a corporate email or something like that, oftentimes we have, certainly like when I'm looking at my to-do list for VetFolio, I pull it up on my phone before I get here and I'm scrolling through what's going on and I have access to all that data. So yeah, absolutely. I guess that makes sense that we store a lot of work data on our phone. So, just making sure that we, everybody's on the same page with the company and yeah, that it's kind of similar to a lot of what we do. Well, you guys have created such an incredible product. I hope we've done it justice here. It almost feels unfair to ask, what's next for Scribenote? What's in the pipeline?
How much time do we have?
I can't believe that. I feel like you would be like, come on, Cassie, like we didn't do enough for you guys here. Like
Yeah, Katie says it more than I do. Katie often reminds us to kind of take a step back and reflect on how far we've come and kind of
Absolutely.
enjoy the moment. I'm a little bit more hard driving than that. I see where we are, and it's a great place. Don't get me wrong. It's better than 3 years ago Ryan could have imagined. But I like the mindset that it's always day one, and that every day that we have an opportunity to make something better for our customers is a really important part of our mission. And so, yeah, we, depending on how much time you have, I could talk a lot about where we're going. At a high level, the things that really matter to us are right now, after you walk out of an appointment, it takes a couple minutes to process your audio data, turn it into a fully formatted medical record. There's a fairly heavy amount of processing that goes into that. We can make that faster. Like, how cool would it be that you like snap your fingers and it's already done? Because like the worst scenario in my mind is if you get out of your appointment early and you go to the computer and it's still processing, like, oh, what an opportunity to save another couple minutes off your day. So that's one. Another one is
Ryan, 2 minutes is okay. Like we can live with 2 minutes.
no, but like I get it. It's it doesn't have to be perfect to be great. But we see so many opportunities to improve. So speed is one. We see another opportunity in jargon, right? So we do a pretty good job of picking up jargon right now, but there is a lot of area under the curve there on that front, and I'm sure there's some words where we don't quite do as good of a job as we could. One that we've been getting a lot recently, maybe I'll go a little bit more concrete here, is on customization, right? So a lot of veterinarians we've talked to love what we're doing, but they have some questions about this format that these notes are being produced in isn't quite exactly what I would have done myself, right? And fair enough. So one of the things we're doing this week, actually, we're releasing is a way to change your normals. So by default, if you're in your examination and you're articulating through the physical exam part of the conversation, let's say you miss a section, like you don't talk about heart rate or you don't talk about cardiovascular, what Scribenote will do is currently it'll default to not mentioned or normal on exam. And from some of the customers we've talked to, every time they see that, they cut it back, they erase it, and they put what they would have wanted on their normal. So maybe for cardiovascular, it would have been steady and strong pulse, no murmurs, no arrhythmia. So that's actually something that we're releasing this week, so that you can have your own set defaults where if it wasn't discussed, Scribenote knows to go back to your default. So there's another opportunity. Integration is a big one too. This is something that we're really looking forward to. The copy and paste or the download of PDF or the auto export to reception or assistant at the clinic. Those are all great workflows to shave some time off the veterinarian's handling of the record from Scribenote and into their practice management system. But wouldn't it be so much nicer if you could leave the exam, go to your Cornerstone or Avmark or whatever it is, and it's just there for you. So that's another piece of what we're doing. The general story here is that we are not going to stop.
I mean, lucky us as veterinarians here that, there's this company that has created such a powerful product designed specifically around veterinarians. Let me tell you how many things are specifically designed around veterinary medicine. It's becoming more and more, but not that many. And then, for you guys to be so intimately connected to what goes on in the day to day, with Katie, obviously you're in the clinic, and, Ryan, you and Alina are super responsive to that. I can't wait to see what's in store.
Yeah, it's
Thank
pretty
you.
exciting.
It is
Thank you
super
so much.
exciting. Oh my gosh, guys, thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that, people listen to this podcast and go try it out, because it sounds too good to be true. It really does, to think like, I don't have to write up my medical records. I still sometimes have a hard time wrapping my brain around it. Such a great thing that you guys have created. And I just can't thank you enough for coming on and talking about it more.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can shoot us an email. Our support team is support@scribenote.com. And by sending us an email, you'll be talking to one of the 5 real humans, eventually more, at Scribenote HQ, who build this product and talk to our customers every day.
Yes, and I can attest to that. It was, like Ryan said, I tried it out. I was so impressed on day one that I immediately sent a message. And I'm glad that you said that. It's a good reminder to, if we do have a positive experience, to reach out. And yes, the customer service is super fast. Everything about Scribenote is automated, but the customer service is not. You really do hear from a real human. These real humans that we're talking to right now.
Oh, we should have that on our site. What a great, what a great line that was.
Well, guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having us.
We're so thankful to be here, and we really appreciate your support.
If you're still not a believer, head over to scribenote.com and check it out. Like I said, I found it, and on day one, I was emailing Ryan and saying, this is such a cool product. Let's talk more about it. So I hope you guys are excited about this as I am. Thank you so much, Ryan and Katie, for joining me. For more episodes like this, click on the Education tab on the VetFolio website. As always, we'd love to hear your input on this talk, as well as ideas for topics you'd like to hear from us in the future. Feel free to reach out to me at dvm@vetfolio.com. You can also visit my Facebook page at Dr. Cassi DVM, and you can find me on LinkedIn. And remember, if one animal is better off because of you today, it's a great day.